Hey, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. Today, I want to take a moment and to go back in my life to my late teens, early 20s. In that time, there was much upheaval. My mother and my stepfather went off to Fiji to build a school of natural resources, and I was living with my sister. Looking back on it, it wasn't a great thing, but we made it work. But during that time, I also went to see my doctor. And I've told this story many times already. And when I went to the doctor, I had taken all my blood sugar readings. And I didn't keep them all together on one sheet of paper, or I just kept about sheets of paper. I'd start a new book and I'd lose it, and I found the book, and it was a whole big mess. But this was back when you had to do everything. And I went to the doctor, took the sheet of paper that I wrote, or I actually typed. I typed out all the blood sugars, and the doctor pretty well looked at me and said, "What's this? You just can't make up numbers and give it to me." And actually, back then it was urine readings, and you could be a 4 plus, and sometimes, I did put a number in where I didn't have a number. But this doctor, I can just remember ripping into me and I walked out of there and saying, "Never again. I'm not going to go back to this doctor." And I've done videos on this and saying that you need to be comfortable with your doctor. At this point, I wasn't comfortable. I didn't want to go back and see them. So I went for a while without any doctor, whether it was a diabetic doctor or an endocrinologist. I was doing my own blood sugars, and as long as I stayed out of the hospital, I was doing a good job. Well, things didn't always work out that great. I went and found a new doctor. And this new doctor kind of said, "I don't think I can handle you here. I really don't know anything about diabetes." He was actually very nice about it. So I found a new one. And both those doctors didn't really come out and say, "Well, you should go and see we should get you in to see an endocrinologist." So they would suggest insulin doses, and I'd go on my merry way. Now, this is my recollection. They could have very well said that, but I was probably being stubborn, and I knew better, and I didn't want to go and see a specialist, because all they do is yell at you. And I guess I have flashbacks. I saw a specialist when I was in the hospital, and he really, when I was diagnosed, and he really wasn't sort of there much. And I can remember I had this roommate, and this roommate unfortunately was suffering from leukemia. And when he got out of the hospital, it was kind of really bad when he was in the hospital. But when he got home and out of there, he could really just take pills. And I said one day that, oh, I wish I could have something like that where I could take pills. And when it got back to my endocrinologist, he'd start freaking out on me and say, you don't wish you would have cancer. Because if you had cancer, things would be as good. You know, blah, blah, blah. People die from that. Don't you want to? And to this day, I kept thinking, all I said was I wish it could be controlled, like when Steven was at home, he could take pills. That's all I said. Okay? But, so, I just had, I believe in the back of my mind, a picture of this endocrinologist doing this. Now, I think the endocrinologists are probably the best bet. And probably a lot more now is that they're speaking to me at an adult level. And that works out to be so much better. Because if you don't do it, people aren't going to listen to you. And sorry, I keep looking over here. It's over there. I should be looking a bit. Sorry. So this caused me for many a time of not taking care of myself. And, you know, I'd take my insulin dose. I'd eat, eat right. Hell, I worked for a convenience store at night, and I could drink all the pop I wanted, and I would buy the largest cup they had, and I would drink that all night and refill it a couple of times. And I was totally exhausted throughout the day. I'd go home, I'd sleep. Well, after working nights, of course you would. And things just really sucked. And I really wasn't feeling well. And I knew I had to do something. And when I would get out of the stints in the hospital, I would try to follow the plan, but it never worked because life got in the way, and that was my excuse. But you know what? Life gets in the way of anything. They say you have to do something. I've heard like 30 days, or I've heard 90 days before it actually becomes a habit. And a lot of times, I don't think I even made it 2 weeks. So, but I finally went into the hospital with what they thought was an infected foot. And I go into a story back where I became diagnosed with this foot problem, and they assigned an endocrinologist. And after I got diagnosed, I stayed with the endocrinologist. She was awesome. And even today, the endocrinologist I have is superior. And I kind of deal with the endocrinologist out of Royal Columbian Hospital. And they all sort of know me, and they all sort of seem to be on the same treatment plan. And it allows me to get the best care, and I'm a contributing factor. If things aren't working, I say, hey, and we come up with a plan. And I can buy into it, they can buy into it, and we get treatment. But I'll continue on about my treatment later. But that's sort of all for now. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you later. Bye now.